Thanks everyone for attending today. So again, thank you everyone for being here. And I guess you've heard that some luggage was missing last night, including mine. So bear with us. Uh, I'm actually very glad to be speaking about this in Jordan. We've spoken about this enough in different countries, and now we're coming home. So it's really good to be home and talk about this. I have with me two of the greatest and really interesting characters in the scene who are experts of matter that we're going to go through blockchain today. We're going to try to make a very complicated issue a simple one. And we're going to hear from the experts about their specialties. So to start this conversation, we mentioned blockchain virtually. I personally say the word probably 600 times a day. And I think it's very important for everyone to understand the underlying technology of blockchain. So simply, what is blockchain? So if we can hear from both of you your perception about blockchain, the way you explain it to someone who doesn't know about blockchain or have very little knowledge about blockchain. So can we start with Mr. Key, please?
Sure. So to put blockchain in simple words, it's a series of blocks of data that's connected to one another. And all of this data is not stored in one centralized servers. It's not stored in a cloud by a company who can access, read it, or play with it. But that data is hosted in a decentralized way called nodes with numerous people, thousands or even millions of people around the world who cannot read the data, who cannot modify the data, because if they tamper with the data, that numerical computation is inaccurate and the data gets rejected, which ideally means everybody has the data, but nobody can modify or do anything with it. Only authorized transactions happening according to the blockchain's algorithm can take place out there. And in an even basic way, if you want to put it, it's just that everybody has it, but nobody can mess with it. And it provides for transparency if the blockchain permits it. Because not every blockchain is transparent. Not every blockchain is even anonymous. There are many combinations, varieties of it. So it's just a database. It's a database which is storing that information in a new way. I was just having a conversation with a few people out there about blockchain, and even though it's a database, I was just telling them we need to use the first principles approach to understand blockchain. We cannot take the existing model of reality that we have in our mind and try to match it to understand blockchain. We need to erase everything that we know and rethink the new reality. Why is blockchain in the first place? Because if you want to understand something, you need to understand the why, the purpose behind it. Why blockchain? I mean, everything in the world is going fine. We're all having our phones, internet, databases, everything out there. The life is going on. So why change everything? Why disrupt it? It's because of the primary challenges that we are unable to overcome right now, the cost centers, which is coming because of centralization, the delay, the latency, which is coming because there is a complex structure of systems between companies, organizations, like the banks and the intermediaries and all of that that's happening in the network. There are levels of layers of restrictions and challenges for various reasons that centralized entities created, for profitability, for control, for trying to limit opportunities and whatever, different reasons out there. All of that has to change. And we need a world where things can happen fast, cross-border. We are in a globalized world right now. We are no longer dealing with people in our neighborhood, in our country. We are dealing with the very wide world. You don't even have law that can regulate the contracts that's happening in between two different countries right now. It's not easy. It's not within jurisdictions of countries. With all that complexity, you need a new solution. You need a solution that is beyond any geographical limitation between any one organization or between any one region. And that's where blockchain came from. A database that is virtually everywhere. Everybody sees it. It's accessible, removes every point of manual processing that's required, from accounting to people required to process, approve, say that something is true or false. I was speaking with someone from an education organization as well, and with certifications. Do I even need to authorize and say, okay, this certificate is coming from this country? Because I cannot just take my certificate and present it somewhere. I need to go through an entity, a governmental entity that looks at it, says, oh yeah, this certificate is tamper proof. I can check the seal, I can check everything. I'm putting a seal on there, and now you can take it to this other country, because now, because of the seal, they're going to trust. With blockchain, you don't need that. You can just check everything virtually in a second. Simplicity, decentralization, freedom at its core. It's a philosophy. It's not a technology. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very extensive.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned
Yeah,
why blockchain, and I think every great invention happened when someone asked why not.
Yeah.
So I think, Mr. Taky, if you give us your perspective about blockchain and take it from a very interesting answer.
Yeah, and I'm happy to learn from Mr. Key's excellent expression of the blockchain. And from my point of view, maybe I'm a technical person and also the project manager in AWS for the blockchain, for the fintech. So I will tell you more about the technology, about the blockchain. The technology of the blockchain is divided into 5 layers. Then the bottom layer is the infrastructure. It's the infrastructure layer. And we build the board first. And then the second layer is the network layer. We need to build in different spots to compromise the network, just like the P2P is some kind of the network for this layer. And the third one is the protocol. We need to choose the right protocol to apply this one in the market. And then the later one is the application. And the last one is the application one. This one, I will put more emphasis on that one in FS market, because of course, I'm doing in the FS market in forest company, and we have applied a lot of the blockchain technology in our company, and it's going to launch in the market. So in the coming presentation, I will let you know there are 3 functions we are going to launch in the market. Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
So I think we started, maybe we moved into the applications of blockchain, which is great. So, I mean, from a perception of blockchain projects normally, because I think everyone understands now, and let me do a small disclaimer. جماعة في ترجمة للي محتاج ترجمة فيه على الطاولات موجودة أجهزة ترجمة فورية. If you need translation, there's always instant translation on the tables. It's provided. So to speak about blockchain projects, because most of blockchain projects are very dependent on adoption, on people's understanding and buying into the technology. And I think from your really fascinating explanation, both of you, we understand that blockchain is not the goal. Blockchain is the vehicle that takes us there. Blockchain is the tool, the infrastructure that would help us build the projects that we talk about. So a lot of the current problems in the scene with blockchain, I wouldn't say problems with blockchain reaching people and adoption are listed in so many different things, like the lack of understanding stands out. There's always a problem. If you don't understand something, it's really hard to buy into it. So can you talk us through your experience on how can blockchain projects and applications that we currently see or what components do these projects have to do in terms of raising awareness, in terms of making people understand really what's going on in this, and why they should be here, not in their comfort zones? So can we start with you, Mr. Taky?
Okay. Yes, thank you. I think the blockchain project is just like the project management. The sequence is, first of all, you need to collect the user requirement first. You need to pinpoint what we want to have finally from the blockchain technology. This is very important for us. And then we will find out any kind of the blockchain technology can apply in this company under the adaptable regulation. Because the compliance is very important for us. For example, in some country, you cannot talk about the cryptocurrency, and for some country, they have lack of understanding of the blockchain. So we need to keep it simple and let the market understand what are you going to apply in the market. Just like the function we are going to launch, I will show them the timestamp of the blockchain. It is a very good proof for you to let the customer know, oh, all your information, all your data is built on the blockchain. Can be differentiated into private blockchain and also public blockchain. If the client feel comfortable, they can ask us to transfer from the private blockchain to the public blockchain because they got the e-wallet, and then I will transfer the NFT from our ATFS wallet to their wallet. This is one kind of the things, one kind of the element you need to concern about when you're doing the project. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Key, do you have any takes on that?
When it comes to the blockchain adoption, I think there are two key factors here. One is education, and the other is simplicity. If the education can go there in the simplest form, in a way that is relatable, that's understandable, and more on an application, more on how someone can use it, apply it on a day-to-day basis in their life. If more of that can take place, more smarter people than us would actually go ahead and implement, because the world is full of smart people. They know better in their own industries in what they do. And the problem with this industry is that at this point, it's people in the blockchain industry creating things for them within themselves. And the next step can only take place with that simplicity and education. And when I say simplicity, what do I mean there? If someone is using any of these applications, like your mobile apps that you use for any day-to-day payment purposes or for you to buy things, e-commerce, all of that, if you can use anything powered by blockchain in the same manner, with the same level of simplicity, without having to think, worry, or try to go through a process, you don't want to go through that. So businesses, startups that can make it that simple, or the ones like a no-brainer, they would end up using it. Because just think about it, when you move to this whole world of mobile application, mobile banking, you don't have to go through a steep learning curve. You are using a web-based banking solution, and now it's in the mobile. It's a seamless transition. And that's the same transition that has to come here. But then that does come with certain challenges, like a security concern, which we need to deal with. But that's on to the startups to work around. But then the biggest adoption challenge that we hear is the regulatory part. I think when it comes to regulation, we should take it at a bite-sized approach. When we look at the whole of the blockchain industry and say, oh, there's cryptocurrencies, there's anonymity, privacy, and blah, 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 and we go into a point of halt. We stall. If we just take one step at a time, what is the first step? Does any government organization have any problems with blockchain? Probably not. They have issues with crypto, so let's keep it away.
I think you nicely delved into the next point, which is the regulatory uncertainty. I mean, to follow on what you said, I personally have worked with the Central Bank of Jordan, the Central Bank of Egypt, the Parliament and the House of Lords in the UK. And what we see is there's a lot of interest from regulators, but there is so little action. So if you can explain to us, like, you feel like the regulators, governments, banks understand the size of the change, the size of the opportunity, the size of the threat maybe to their traditional revenue streams, and certainly it taps into the next point, which is a little bit of security. So if you can elaborate a little bit more about the regulatory side of the business, and certainly we want to hear from you, Mr. Taky, because you're in a financial service provider, and how can we, as a community, work with the regulator in achieving what we want to achieve in terms of a technology revolution, in terms of changing the standard way of doing things?
I don't know if this is a very apt question, but I remember in very early days, when you go and try to fill up a form in government or in other places, there's a cost to the form. You need to pay some money for a form to fill it. But now when it's digitalized, you don't have that. So does that mean that the government is losing revenue there? Probably not. They have a new way of monetizing it. So in every step of the way, I think it's important for every entity to think, what is a new opportunity that's being presented with this change that's happening here, and how do you monetize in this new environment? It's giving some comfort, it's giving some advantages, and what does that advantages mean to them and to their customers? And where is the new opportunity evolving? Because the world is constantly changing. New opportunities come and the old problems die. And we are in the business of service. Whether it's a government or bank or whoever it is, we are all in the business of servicing someone to solve a particular problem. So if the problems have changed, it is essential for us to change with it and meet the particular solution that the people are looking for. Otherwise, there are going to be other products that's trying to do the same thing in ways that might or might not be compliant, and we don't want that. So it is important to deal with the new business models, which ideally means they need to think ground up. Okay, what do these people need right now? Global international transfers, fast transfers. They want solutions that are, and from a regulatory side, compliant with AML and KYC norms. So what can we do with the power of blockchain? Can we go use a private blockchain? Can we make every wallet holder require to have KYC and AML as part of the process? Can we give them the freedom by removing intermediate banks to directly access the international payment networks? And most of those are an S. And these are benefiting the banks and the regulators, because now a lot of manual work for having false documentation, false information has to go out. With the blockchain, with the transparency, it's hard to lie. It's hard to fake. It's hard to misrepresent. It makes life of a lot of individuals who try to circumvent the system harder as well, which is good for the regulators. So now it's to look at the positives and see how to balance both of those things, which ideally means that we need experts on the blockchain side, some creative thinkers, artists, etc., to come together with the regulatory bodies to create these new systems, because they are not adopting blockchain in there as a part of the process, but they're reinventing the systems out there. And I mean, it's almost like one of the biggest challenges that came with the regulators is that they cannot just add this in there. It's not like something that you plug in. It is a fundamental shift.
It is.
And that is painful. That costs a lot of money. That takes a lot of time. And it is a process that might take a lot of learning over the next few years to actualize. But if you need to do it, you need to do it. And the longer it takes, the problematic it is.
Thank you so much. Mr. Taky, can you take us through it, since you are actually in the application phase, so you're already using it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think I will keep it simple. Just on the one hand, I will have a good communication with the government first about the regulation or about the acceptance of the blockchain. On the other hand, I will pick some most easy to pass the blockchain country, like the Southeast Asia. We will launch that one. For example, the NFT launch the ATFS token in this country first. And then after I got the result, I can reflect to the Middle East, reflect to the Latin country to prove that it's safe, it's cost saving, it's security, high security tools to let the government to know about that. This is my point.
Is this really an explanation why when blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs boomed, it boomed in countries that are not necessarily in a mature kind of economy like Europe, like old Europe, let's say, and like the US, while it was more in developing markets. It was in Africa, it was in Southeast Asia, it was in the Middle East. Is this because the system is so rigid and stagnant in mature economies?
Yes.
And you have to go through FCAs, SECs, federal banks, all scary words.
Yeah.
Whereas in different countries, and like in Africa and Southeast Asia, people have the capacity to be more creative. Is this the thing?
I think you're correct. We need to do it step by step. It's according to the acceptance level of that country. Maybe we will launch the NFT first, or we will launch the blockchain first. We are not talking about the crypto first. And after they have well-educated, we will apply it one by one in that country to make them feel comfortable. Yeah.
So to touch base on the cost of implementation and to follow it with this point, because I worked with so many projects where we outsourced our development to countries like Vietnam, to countries like Philippines, to Nigeria, to different places, because the technology is the same and they have the capabilities and the knowledge. It's a matter of cost of labor and implementation. So can you talk us a little bit about this, if it's creating opportunities maybe, or if it's really creating challenges for projects in terms of cost of implementation, ways of implementing it? If we, for example, assume that we bypassed the first three problems, how do we solve the cost of implementation? And is it a matter of learning? So the more we learn, the more we reduce the cost of this?
At this point, the primary cost of implementation is the knowledge and developers, mostly developers. It's a new technology, so the number of developers who have learned it in the past have been super less. And in the blockchain space, when you go talk to a developer, how many years of experience you have? 1 year, amazing. 1 year is a great experience in development. 2-3 years is great. A CTO is 4 years, a developer is a CTO on it. So it's very different because it's a new market and the skill set has not penetrated that deep, that far. So the cost should go down, and it's already starting to go down drastically in the last 1 year, 1.5 years. As more and more developers learn, I can already see around the world in developing countries and etc. People are learning. There are schools for teaching about blockchain development. So it's a matter of time. Like any technology, the cost is high at the start, it goes down. So the cost of implementation is not my major area of concern at this point. It is for new innovators creating absolute new products, but for entities deploying it, it's a matter of time for the cost to get adjusted.
Thank you so much. Mr. Taky, do you have anything to add on this for us?
No. It's okay.
Thank you. So we want to quickly maybe benefit the attendees here by maybe hearing a little bit about your advices to people who want to start a project in blockchain. They want to be on the forefront of this technology. Are there any like standard steps that they have to follow, or standard way of things they have to do to be part of this? And are there anything that they should avoid doing, mistakes that someone else did?
Well,
Please go ahead.
Yeah, you first.
No.
okay.
That's okay.
I would say the first thing is to stop listening. Because a lot of times the problem comes because we are listening too much. When you have an idea, when you have something that you want to go out with, you're going to have tons of resistance. So you need to take that step forward and anyways do it. If you believe this is a solution that would help people that you see, that you know, and you're solving someone's problem. And especially, you need to be in a position to avoid resistance. If investors are involved, they would want you to probably go to the market faster, prove something faster. If there are, every stakeholder has their own interest. It is important as the founder of your business to focus on what you need to do to make this work for yourself as a company. If you can stay focused on that, a lot of problems would go away. But to become a unicorn, for you to be that very large company, you need to constantly innovate. Be ready to pivot. Be ready to change your business. You spend 3 months, 6 months in building something that you believe in, but 6 months after, maybe you're obsolete. You need to change the direction. So be ready for that. In the past, technology was changing once in a year. Probably you might need to recheck. In the blockchain right now, if you don't check what's happening for a month, you go out for a vacation, probably you don't even belong there anymore. That's how fast things are going. Because you're at a point in time where there are millions of social and economic experiments, new experiments happening at the same time. So things are changing fast. And as long as you can keep yourself dynamic and be open to your own, able to continue progressing ahead. So blockchain over the period has proven itself that under massive pressure, it can still sustain and function because it's functioning on some of the fundamental philosophies. Like when you have to borrow something on the blockchain, you use over-collateralization. How can you ever go wrong when you have way more collateral than what you need? Because it's functioning on a different trustless model. You cannot obviously function in do the same thing that you do in the bank over there, but it works a little differently. And that difference is what brings the security. It's what brings the protection. So I think the proof is happening with the time. And as more and more happens, people are going to look up and see, okay, where is a safer haven? Where is a better solution? Where else can I move which protects? It's just like when the real estate goes down, people look at commodities to move their money to. When people are looking at bank deposits, and if there's a problem there, like that's going on in the US right now, then what are people looking at? Okay, probably should I go and have gold, physical gold storage with me? Or if that is not permissible, where else can I go? People search for solutions. You don't need to feed them with solutions. Solutions has to be there with a track record, and they just need to be educated that it exists. And as long as it's in the vicinity, people are smart. Because we humans are surviving species. We always find solutions to our existential problems. So we don't need to stuff it down their throat, just spray it around like pepper, and they'll sniff it up.
Thank you. Very, very interesting. I think by the time we set up the next presentation for Mr. Taky, we can take any questions. If anyone in the audience has a question for the panel, so please feel free to raise your hand and we'll get someone to you with a mic.
مساء الخير للجميع. شكرا لمجموعة آفاق اللي أعطتنا هذه الفرصة للاستماع لهذه التكنولوجيا الناشئة. أنا بجوز سؤالي هو سؤال وتعقيب. إن التكنولوجيا الناشئة البلوك تشين والويب 3 هي نقلت التكنولوجيا من هيمنة المؤسسات وأعطتها لهيمنة الفرد. يعني حاليا الفرد اللامركزية خلقت إنه الفرد صار فيه استقلالية أكثر. هذا إلها محاذير كثير، يعني حتى على مستوى البلد هسه بصير اتصال الفرد مع الأفراد في كل العالم. بالتالي أين دور المؤسسات؟ هل هناك قوانين وأنظمة يمكن أن تحكم هذه العملية أم لا؟ الشغلة الثانية إنه أصلاً في فجوات حالياً في التكنولوجيا ما بين الدول. إحنا هسه نقلنا السيطرة للأفراد، راح تكون في فجوات بين الأفراد في نفس البلد. هذه مهمة جداً، يعني في تخوف كبير من هذا الموضوع. اثنين، الوظائف حالياً بتعرف إحنا العالم كله بيعاني من البطالة، وإحنا في بلدنا البطالة نسبتها مرتفعة. بالتالي هذه التكنولوجيا أين موقع البطالة منها؟ وما هي المهارات التي يجب أن نوجه الدارسين والطلاب والأكاديميين إليها حتى نتفادى؟ لأنه صحيح البلوك تشين والويب 3 شغلة بتخوف، والعالم القادم إحنا أول كنا نعرف وين الداتا تبعتنا، هسا إحنا نقلناها من طبقة لطبقة أخرى. بالتالي ما إحنا عارفين هل هذا مقدمة إنه العالم ينفتح على بعضه؟ هل هي الحروب القادمة ستكون حروب معلومات أم إن يعني وراء لكمة ما وراءها؟ شكرا.
شكرا لك.
Yes, maybe I'll answer this question. I think the blockchain is not medicine. It's not the medicine to fix the unemployment issue. But I believe that for this high technology get into the Jordan, it can create a lot of the career, because blockchain is the best role of the blockchain is the enhancement the speed, enhancement the cost cutting and cost saving, and also enhancement the cyber security. I think that it can help this society more talent to build up on this area and create another kind of the career in this area. It's very important. Yeah.
Taky?
I'd like to add something here as well, when it especially comes to the career portion of what's happening here. If you look at the past, we had full-time jobs. People go for jobs and they do their work. And then you slowly had the freelancers who are working virtually and so on. And the COVID made remote jobs and freelancing jobs more. But blockchain is creating a new model of jobs called micro jobs. It's the jobs that you don't even know what you're necessarily contributing to, but it's a small part of the process that you're contributing. So I know one of the company which is dealing with ships is tracking ships, where a user just has to go scan a ship and upload its location, and he gets paid for that. If you're driving a car which is powered by blockchain, when you leave a way for someone behind, you get paid. Guys who needs to go faster pay someone else who is ahead of them to move ahead, and others who are ready to wait, they are behind and they're okay with it. So there are a lot of these jobs coming up. In a day, a person could be doing 20 micro jobs. And this is what I believe translates to universal basic income. It's not governments giving free money, but it is about these solutions that's coming up, which is contributing to it. But what you said is, one thing is pretty right. The future war is an information war. It's a war on data. And that is why blockchain is ahead of it to protect it. And attacks on these technology, attacks on this infrastructure is where the next set of challenges would emerge, because there's no monetization capabilities in any other types of war right now. And the future of, if this infrastructure is working in a micro job environment, to halt a country, to halt something of that kind, you need to attack that. So protecting that more with blockchain is where the opportunity lies as well.
شكرا. أنا إذا ممكن أضيف بس على النقطة اللي حكيتها، إحنا فكرة واحدة من الأشياء اللي بقدمها البلوك تشين اللي اشتغلنا فيها على بروجكت مع البنك المركزي في مصر هي الاشتمال المالي. يعني في عدد كبير من الصغار الحرفيين، صغار العمال، الناس اللي في الأماكن البعيدة عن السنترز المدن، دائما عندهم اقتصادهم محدود. فكرة البلوك تشين إنها تفتح للناس هذول سوق ما كانوا قادرين يوصلوا له بسبب الخدمات البنكية اللي هم ما عندهم أكسس عليها. فهي كل تكنولوجيا جديدة في إلها حسنات وسيئات، في إلها استعمالات ممكن تكون جيدة وممكن لا. يعني شغلة أنا تعلمتها من فترة لما اخترعوا التلسكوب، اللي عرفنا عن الفضاء كله من خلال التلسكوب. أول 3 سنين من استعمال التلسكوب كان بيشوف تحت مش فوق، كان على القمر الصناعي عشان نراقب بعض. بعدين استوعبنا انه احنا ممكن نفهم اكثر عن العالم فيه. فهي الفكره هي، هل احنا نقف في طريق التكنولوجيا ما دام لها مخاطر قادمه، ولا هل احنا نحاول كحكومات او كريجوليتر او كانظمه شغلنا احنا مش نحدد للناس كيف تعيش، احنا شغلنا نحمي الناس في الطريقه اللي بدها تعيشها، شغلنا ننظم علاقاتهم مع بعض، شغلنا نفهم هم شو بدهم يسووا واحنا نحاول نحطه في اطار قانوني عادل وشامل للجميع. فأتوقع هو الموضوع هو حوار مهم للكل، للحكومات، للمعني بالحرب واللي مش معني بالحرب، للمعني بالاقتصاد واللي مش معني بالاقتصاد، لأنه هذا شيء يعني راح يغير كثير من مجالات الحياة. فالأفضل في هيك حال إنه إحنا نكون على القطار مش برا القطار، نشوف وين بده يروح. هل في عندنا أسئلة تانية في الغرفة؟
Okay, thank you so much. This goes, both of them, but I believe key if you start at least, because I know you're expert on this at least. The decentralized identity, identity on blockchain is a big thing, because how to secure that you are you, because it's decentralized. There's also like some data which is hashed even. That's about you. How can this will be executed? And then another question, how this will be different from governments that are talking now about digital identity. So what's the difference between decentralized identity and digital identity?
Okay, so let's first talk about identity. When we are looking at any form of, at this point, I'm sure you're familiar with these NFTs and monkey pictures. We are wearing the monkey pictures as identity, but the real future with NFT is where our real passports and birth certificates, driving licenses, and all these documents are on blockchain, and that is connected and accessible for us anywhere. You are not going to lose them. You don't need to get a reprint of it. There's no false documents and all of that. It's verified because of the contract address. It's very verifiable, easy, and secure. And these documents moving to blockchain, it's already happening with multiple countries, and that will keep progressing. But then the concept of decentralized identity is, it's a very similar concept, but then without a government issuing it, without a central body issuing it. So imagine if you have something through which you can access all your digital accounts. You can stay anonymous if you prefer to, because a decentralized identity is not coming from an entity that requires the visibility of the person. The anonymity is permitted, in which case you can still send information back and forth, authorize yourself without publishing that. So at this point, we are uploading our passports with every company that we sign up with. Every time I have to upload my sensitive identity information, where I stay, what I do, my bills, what I use, all of that to verify myself. But in a decentralized ID solution, it doesn't have to be that way. When I share information, the respective, you have technologies like zero knowledge proof, which can actually verify and validate something with zero knowledge of it. I don't want I like to verify myself, but I don't want my information going out. And that is important because there is a lot of forgery and frauds happening because of this information being accessible. It's right now sitting in hundreds of databases. I have accounts across a lot of financial institutions, and all this data is out there, and it's at risk. And how do we solve it? And that's where the decentralized ID comes into play. It is a solution where your data is yours and only yours. Even entity verifying it does not need to know who you are and what you do, but they need to know you are the rightful person and that you are safe to transact with. There is no AML risk to transact with you. All of that information is accessible, but not the core data itself.
Maybe that's key for the transition from Web 2 to Web 3, where in Web 2, someone is using your data and monetize it. In Web 3, you're using your data, you choose how your data is going to be monetized, and you gain the benefit. So I think the pushback is really from those who don't want you to use your data, and they want to continue to use your data.
That's true.
Can we have a question from the lady there, please?
Hello there. Please excuse my allergies. We talked about the pros and encouraging governments to actually go with blockchains and cryptocurrency. But what is the weakest point, or what is the weakest link in blockchaining?
I think a weakness of the blockchain is the education level of the country. Because if you don't know the benefit from the blockchain, you will confuse or you will refuse to use it, maybe. And also the cost, right now, if you do the blockchain, the infrastructure of that course is quite huge. For example, my company already used more than 1 million for the infrastructure to build up the blockchain. So I think this tool is a great barrier for some startup company to invest.
I think the weakest link is with the nodes where your data is stored. If a government were to run a blockchain, they would probably run few nodes themselves, which is a risk because it's in limited places. But if they completely adopt the decentralized approach with the cryptographic encryption, they should be able to pay people or just get a lot of institutions and organizations around the world or within the country to have it and store it. Because if it is truly decentralized that way, the problems go down more and more. So when it is a centralized solution deployed as a private blockchain, the not doing that distribution is becoming the problem. And if they can solve that, overcome that, then I don't really see major challenges around it other than educating and onboarding people appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, I can't add much to what the guys say, but maybe I'll say that the weakness of blockchain is its competition, because blockchain is coming to compete with the really most powerful institutions in the world, and that could be an issue for them because you're simply pulling the rug from under their feet. So they chose maybe the high weight champion to go against, but I think this can be mitigated when people see the applications of blockchain and the value that it gives to their day-to-day life. It's not rocket science. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to know what is a DLT. You don't need to know what is even a node. You need to know, what does this do to me? What value does it give to me? Where did I save? And really, whatever we used to spend as a global economy on centralization is going to be put back into the economy. So it's not a matter of, it's a redistribution. I know that governments and banks sometimes find it like intimidating to talk about democratizing the scene, the redistribution, doing this. But in reality, it's simply, it's taking from the few and giving to the many without disrupting the global economy. We're still doing what we do. If you want to trade in oil or in renewable energy, it's up to you. You just use blockchain to pay for it. So here, if we can have the last presentation, and
We have a
hopefully,
question on the third table as well, someone waiting for
yeah.
a while.
I mean, if there is a question there, yeah, let's have it.
Okay, thank you for your time and for this insight. So, if you can tell us from your experience of how you see the transition of authorities' acceptance of tokenization and blockchain-based systems, because we see usually the governments or so looks at these systems as a threat because control is going away from them of a world that is made to be decentralized. So, yes.
I'll ask my guests, but I mean, my answer is there is always, in most applications now of blockchain, there's always a component of compliance, whether it's global or on a domestic level. I think the current tools of KYC, know your customer, AML, anti-money laundering, all of these things are in place and applicable. And I think the government, as much as they're concerned, or the regulator, they need to know the source and the destination and the reason of any transaction, but nothing more and nothing less. So if blockchain applications are capable of giving that level of comfort to the regulator and to the government in general, in terms of understanding that part, I don't think they have a say in telling you use this bank instead of that bank, or.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
please feel free to add.
Thank you for your introducing my next project. It's about the KYC because, yeah, this gentleman is already mentioned about that. My next project is I will make the KYC into the blockchain, and how to do that? Yeah, we can establish a centralized blockchain to let the trust party to create a trust environment. For example, the government representative, the banker, and also the insurance company or the law firm. You know, every party is trustable, and then I put my client into this centralized blockchain, and then everyone can verify, everyone can identify the truth of this client. You know, so my KYC. Blockchain can be established. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think with this upcoming evolution, there are a lot of private and independent companies that will come up with their solutions to their various industry problems. And as long as government's regulations are very clear around what they need out of that, if it is data, if it's to ensure X, Y, and Z, as long as they make that very clear, the problems will be solved. Because as you rightly mentioned, more and more assets are coming digital. There is a report that says the $18 trillion market of asset tokenization has already started. So I see a world, we're not very far, where we would be talking about not in just terms of net worth in dollars or our local currencies, but we'll be speaking about it in terms of I have 3 kgs of gold, I have 10 gallons of water, commodities, all of that as assets. Where is your commodity? It's right on my phone because it's in a decentralized custodianship with an entity where I can trust and verify. It is verified by numerous third parties and it's safe. It's a private organization, but then what do governments want out? If they want to verify and tax them, that is possible because everything is on chain. With the KYC, everything, you know who is buying, who is trading, who is profiting. So it is a win-win-win where it brings more money transparently in a verifiable manner. And I believe the right taxation models will actually make them more, not less, with the system.
The first function I use it is to verify the ATFS affiliate, the IB, the introduced broker. And some potential clients, they want to know, if you are represent the ATFS to be the broker, to be the introduced broker, and then I use this function to make it. First of all, it's quite small. First of all, they enter the link of the referral link from that broker, and then you type in the potential client, they type in your name and also the email address. And then they will get, the client will get the email to just like the one-time password. And then if that IP is represent ATFS, I will show this certificate to give the confidence for this potential client to follow this IP, to pay, to trade in ATFS. This is the first function I apply in the market. And the second function is account and query. Already we mentioned about the enhancement, because you can find some information in our back office or in our client portal. But by the way, some information is hidden. We cannot express. So I use the blockchain to let the IB know about that. The step they are using is, the IB need to enter, log in our client portal first, and then you can find an orange box. You click the blockchain and query. After that, that can enter the trading number, the MT4 number into that in this area, and then that IB can know their client information through the blockchain right here. This is the second function. I apply the blockchain into this financial system. And the last one is the loyalty program. I need to say thanks to my health marketing teams, create that ATFS NFT, because we love the bull, because I think everyone loves the bull. The market is going up, So that's why you choose this figure. And then that one, the NFT is represents the membership card, just like a membership card. We don't need to issue a solid membership card to them. And then they can use the membership card. I can airdrop the benefit for them. For example, I can airdrop the QR code, and then you can go to the Starbucks to scan the QR code, and then you got a free coffee. It is quite cost saving, I just send the QR code for them. And also, they can earn the ATFS token. And this token is very important. They can earn it. Maybe they trade. They can earn token, and maybe they engage our webinar, the education webinar, and then they can get the token. After they get the token, they can redeem right here.
So, first of all, thank you very much for taking us through a real-world application of blockchain. Thank you, Mr. Key and Mr. Taky, for taking the audience with you in a blockchain journey and trying to explain things differently, shed light on different things. And we're running out of time, but we're more than happy to continue this conversation throughout the day. The guests will be with us during this conference, and you've been a great audience, so thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.